So you've lived in South Africa, you've lived in Australia, you're about to launch here in the US. Tell me kind of like what you see the scalability of the business and what kind of partnerships you're looking to create here in the US, and where you see, I guess, like the 6 month, 1 year, even 5 year plan of Ivvy.
Well, my goal is to be the first female-led tech company that reaches a multi-billion-dollar exit in the next 3 years. Okay, and therefore, and I put that on record, and I am not afraid to say it. The fact is that is my goal, and I'm going to do everything I can to achieve that as fast as possible. And I believe that women need role models, particularly in technology, and the fact that I'm in not only technology, I'm in hospitality, which is completely male-dominated, and same as technology, and it's very far and few between that you find women in tech. It's been a no-go zone for so long, and actually the ability is that if I could be a role model, a successful role model, my goal is to change the investing around the world in women, because only 3% of women get funded globally. Okay, and the problem is we do not have fantastic role models in tech for women, and I hope I can be one of them that can change the way people invest in us and in the fact and support us and help us accelerate and grow. And I think that that is really, for me, a big dream. It means onboarding a huge team, finding the right partners to work with, and to really just step out and make it happen.
Absolutely. No, you're definitely making it happen, and I will say you are a game changer. There really isn't anything quite like Ivvy Marketplace here in the US, and I know you're going to do extraordinarily well because you are behind it, and that's what we're all about here at ParlayMe, the people that are actually behind these companies. So you're really building an on-demand marketplace for B2B, also for weddings, right? It's not just corporate events, it's actually for meetings, corporate events, and your weddings. So it's a really turnkey solution. Tell us a little bit about your customers.
Well, across the market, we've got event technology, which we supply anything from corporates to, the small PCOs to the mum at home is just doing a networking event from a ticketing and registration perspective. We also supply hotels from large chain groups to small boutique hotels to restaurants and golf courses. And that's really on the enterprise software side. And our other release that's coming up very shortly is for the whole supply chain, which is entertainers and speakers and caterers and AV companies. And now all we're doing is we're digitizing an entire ecosystem that's never been online before. And now we're providing them with enterprise solutions that deliver their live availability online and drive their customer engagement and acquisition, because now they're available and accessible. And the marketplace is there as a single solution that will find all these products and services, and ultimately those customers that are coming through the marketplace are either corporates or they're event organizers or they're wedding planners, or they basically, it can be business to business or consumer. And really it is there, and it has to be accessible for millions of people, that we can then bring this whole highly fragmented industry together in a single solution.
You are definitely streamlining it and make it, you're solving a huge problem. So I know you're going to be super successful. Tell me a little bit kind of about, I guess from your perspective, any particular startups that you've followed in the space. You're like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Well, I think one of the biggest and most successful startups that I know that came out of Australia was Atlassian. And Atlassian started out by building Jira technology for programmers, and they were all about building teams. An incredible company with an amazing culture that started out of Sydney. They grew, they listed to over $1 billion market out in the UK. They're a global company. They're one of the fastest growing companies. Another one was Xero, which, I met up with their team, and that was very interesting how they got 100 customers. They then listed at $12 million out of New Zealand. They are now the fastest growing fintech company globally, having raised over $486 million, and obviously listed company. And these are the type of software as a service platform delivery technology companies that are really, really incredible. Another one is who's a Springboard alum with me is Melanie from Canva. She's built a marketplace for design, and that's another one. one that's a really incredibly successful story. And these are the type of things we need to be able to help pioneer some of these things.
Definitely.
You know, and you asked me what are some of the, who's like one of the inspirations to me. And I suppose one of the things I think for any entrepreneur is when you look at Richard Branson's probably a very idyllic entrepreneur that, you know, understands building teams, understands building opportunities, and he's really a game changer in a lot of areas. So he's kind of an inspiration to me. I look at him and saying, you know, that's somewhere that I'd love to be on a path very similar to him.
Absolutely.
And love his pockets too, you know, what he's got on that. But he understands brand, he understands, building that the most important thing to him is not necessarily the customer, but is actually his team. And, these are the things that I think are really important for founders, particularly in the fact that when you're delivering solutions to market, you have to trust that you've got the best team around you and people that are actually better than you.
Right, and to delegate and trust and empower your team. To that point, that's kind of a good segue actually to my next question, which is kind of more about like thoughtful leadership and how you grow a company, because you are expanding. You're 45 people, is that right, in Australia already? And you know you're going to be growing super fast here in the States as well, and heading up here in New York. Tell me, how do you kind of envisage and how do you do it today now that you are 45 people? How do you as a co-founder, leader, kind of still tap into being that thoughtful leader, but also delegating and handing off the baton, so to speak?
Well, I think for any founder, the hardest thing is finding enough people that can deliver certain compartments and responsibilities within the business. You have to find the right people, because being able to delegate tasks to them, you've got to be able to trust that your team can deliver, and you've got to be able to relinquish some of your own control, because most founders and entrepreneurs are control freaks, okay? And
that's often why we start our own businesses.
Yeah, and the most important thing you want to do is make sure, because mistakes you can make by hiring and firing people, if you employ the wrong person, it can be so damaging for your business. And therefore, spend time and hire the right person. Do your due diligence. I think that's really important. Also, you got to build a good culture. You know, you got to be able to be an inspiration. You've got to be able to celebrate little wins, and you've got to be able to recognize everybody's contribution, because they are all important in the journey. The hardest part is saying that this one is more important than the other. It isn't. And especially in a startup culture, you've got to be able to, everybody's, wants to contribute, create innovation days, give them, time off to think tank and contribute, because the things that most staff want is recognition and appreciation, and they want to be involved, okay? And if you can drive that as a culture and bring them together, and help everybody be part of that footprint, then you'll build a great team. And then your success is inevitable, provided that you know that you have a good customer and you've got a good product. I mean, you know that you've solved the problem. But to scaling out is always a hard part, because you've got to build up your leadership teams, recruit downwards, allow everybody to have a role and responsibility in managing and owning that process, and then you just deliver piece by piece. You've got to build it and grow it, and build credibility, build width and depth, and then ultimately be able to deliver a global company, because you've got to look at every market, you've got to look at all the opportunities and do all your research.
No, it's super important. And different companies, obviously, there's so many different organizational structures. You can go top down, you can go across the board, you can remove job titles. There's all different ways of doing things, and the way companies are kind of like experimenting, if you will, enterprises experimenting in that space. And certainly they're looking to startups and they're watching how we are kind of changing the game there. And quite interesting to that point, the CEO of Chobani, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, it's a massive yogurt company here in the States, and he was actually an immigrant from Turkey, came here, built a multinational food company, and actually just recently rewarded all his employees by making them all shareholders. Which is really kind of, to your point, giving back, kind of incentivizing them to be part of the company's entire growth. Look, not all companies are set up to do that, but it's really interesting how different companies are kind of navigating that space and how they are empowering their teams.
Well, I think that there's, particularly in America, when you're recruiting and you're up against big companies like Google and
Right.
House and Airbnb.
The best offsites in the world.
You know, you've got free food, you've got...
You can live there if you want.
You could, but what's interesting is what's really hard is you've got to find ways and means to be able to attract the talent, and you've got to give them something that they possibly can't get from their other companies. The hardest thing is if you in tech, you're up against those big players, and but when you're looking at, I mean, people are expecting stock options, a good base, but they are also expecting the fact that they can take what they're doing and own it.
Right.
The bigger you get, the harder it is to do that.
Yeah.
And but the reality is when you're starting at an early stage or a high growth stage, it's finding those incredible people that want to be a part of that journey because they can see the upside, and there could be a potential IPO or a potential sale, and therefore there's a lot of potential liquidity events, which will enable them to get a greater reward for their efforts.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So to that point, we always talk about investors on our shows and what they look for in entrepreneurs. But I want to ask you, because you are an established entrepreneur, and Ivy, it's a startup. It's not really a startup anymore. I mean, you're away and running, but you are kind of got that startup mentality when you're coming to the States, because it's a new marketplace and you're going to have new partnerships and growth opportunities. Tell me, what are kind of like some pillars, just 3 things you kind of hold up for yourself as a CEO, founder, for like being successful in your startup? Like, we always ask investors what they look for, and it can be due diligence, whatever, passion, all these raw things. What are 3 things that you kind of hold yourself accountable for?
I think with any CEO, firstly, you're accountable for the strategic direction of the business, and you're responsible for the growth, and you're responsible for making key financial decisions that are ultimately going to affect your stakeholders.
Right.
And therefore, most investors invest in the people, and they invest in the opportunity, and they've got to make sure that you can deliver it. Really important is I'm commit myself wholeheartedly. There is no negotiation in failure, and therefore my responsibility is delivering the best value return to my shareholders, and to build what I've promised from the onset. At the same time, from an external perspective, that I'm seen as a leader, and that I'm seen as somebody that can inspire the teams to be motivated to deliver upon our expected key performance indicators.
Yes.
And to really also make sure that as an entrepreneur, that I actually stand up to what I say I'm going to do. I'm about building, a long-term sustainable business, okay, that can grow significantly. But at the end of the day, for myself, I hold myself accountable on everything.
Yep, absolutely. And that's the role of CEO, and that's why it's not an easy role, and that's not why it's for everyone. You're definitely, in leaps and bounds fit for that role. You are incredible, and you're so driven, and you are. It's absolute inspiration for me with you. And to that point, our last but most important question: being an entrepreneur and being a CEO and being anyone in business, there's always an element of risk and what we call calculated risk. If you were a gambling woman, not that we're endorsing here, are you a roulette, a blackjack, or a poker player? If we had to put you in a casino and say, Lauren, you must gamble today, what would be your strategy?
I'd probably go for poker.
The thinking.
Yeah, and poker and blackjack. Those are the things. Roulette, it's funny. Roulette is either black or white. It's red or black, okay? And with me, it's all or nothing, okay?
And there's a lot of chance in roulette too. We want to eliminate the chance element here. So I like it. You're actually combining blackjack with poker. I've never had that one before. So you are unique. You cover all bases. I love it.
I think the only thing though is I only want to bet on something that I know that I can control. The hardest thing is that's why I'm a really bad gambler, because I can't control the come. and
that's
and
why
I'm a really bad. I don't go to casinos because there's no point.
Well, you don't have time, and you're focused on running a multi-million-dollar company, so that's fine, and a billion-dollar exit. So, look, you are going to do extraordinarily well. I'm so excited. We're going to be at the Stevie Awards together, so we're going to bring all that to you guys. I can't wait to follow you around this conference, watch you network, meet these incredible people here in the US that want to hear all about Ivy, because there is nothing like it here. So I'm incredibly excited to be here with you today, Lauren. So thank you for taking the time. And check it out, guys. We'll put Ivy, now it's ivy.com, right?
That's it.
Check it out. You can sign up. You can actually, you've got an incredible online system where someone writes to you straight away when you get on there. You've got virtual assistants. You've got account managers that are right there to walk you through the entire process. So it's really flawless. Check it out, guys. Ivy.com. And thank you so much. 2 V's. Yes, guys, 2 V's. Thank you so much. You're the best. Cheers. Thank you.